Listen to this story. As if being the largest bankrupt city in America isn't bad enough, Detroit's water department is now down $90 million from 90,000 residents who are late on their water bills. And as services are being cut, activists are calling on the United Nations to step in. But is it liberal policies that got the city in the situation in the first place? Joining us now to break it all down is former advisor to the city of Detroit, Mark Aesch. Nice to see you this morning, Mark. Welcome to the show.
You as well. Thank you.
So the United Nations wants to weigh in on Detroit. How does that make sense?
Well, I think we'd all be wise to maybe send a memo off to the United Nations that says if you've got issues with water, let's go work on countries where they live in sand. Detroit, last time I checked, is on the greatest freshwater supply in the United States. And speaking of American exceptionalism, we sort of have a rich history of making sure that people in this country get food and water.
Well, the UN experts responded Wednesday to these shutoffs and basically saying, look, that they should be only cut off when non-payment is as a result of someone not being able to pay. They know they can pay, but they're not paying. And so these are being shut off, and this is a human rights violation.
So what happened is when the city began to move forward with turning water off for people who had not paid their bills for months, a remarkable thing occurred. The very next day, 60% of the folks walked down to the water department with a bag full of money and paid their bills. So when we work with struggling municipalities across the country, the first thing we say to them is collect the money from the people who are using your services. And that's what, we criticize Detroit a lot. They're getting it right here.
Well, their water bills are so high there. Why in Detroit 50% higher than in other major cities across the country?
Well, you've got two reasons. One, a rich history of people not paying their bills, and so that makes everyone else have to pay more. But the second is this culture that has existed for years where Detroit spends money they don't need to. Quick example, most people when they retire get 12 pension checks. In Detroit, they used to get 13 because they would give them a bonus check at Christmas. Those costs get passed on to ratepayers. That's why the water bill in Detroit is 50% higher than the rest of America. And Detroit's finally trying to get people to actually pay their bills.
I want to read a quote from Democratic Michigan Congressman John Conyers, who said this. He said, over the past decade, Detroiters have seen their water rates increase by 119% over the same period, a global financial crisis that left 1 in 5 local residents in foreclosure and sent local unemployment rates skyrocketing, severely undercut Detroiters' ability to pay. Agree or disagree?
Well, I think the struggle is you've got to look at the fact that Detroit was an American embarrassment when it went bankrupt. And what we're trying to do is build that back. It's easy to criticize Detroit, and we've done that for many, many years. But the fact that Detroit is saying pay for the services that you use, if you don't have the ability to pay, there are programs to take care of you. But if you simply refuse to pay, we're going to do something about that. And that's what Detroit is doing.
And then yesterday, front page story in the New York Times, people walking away from their homes in droves. And they're not even able to give these homes away. $500 a house at auction. Really troubling times for Detroit. Mark, nice to see you this morning. Thanks for your analysis.
You as well.
Coming up here on the show, he was a 4-star admiral with a successful career in the Navy, but his family says he was used as a scapegoat in the